In today's class, we're going to make our way through a TOEFL reading practice test. Are you ready? First, I'll give you an overview. Then, you'll have the chance to practice, and finally, I'll show you the correct answers. Okay, let's begin with an overview of TOEFL reading. On test day, the reading section takes about 35 minutes to complete. You'll get 2 reading passages, which are approximately 700 words each, and you'll get 10 questions per passage. There are 10 possible question types in TOEFL reading. The first 9 questions in each set will be a mix of information and inference questions, and the 10th question in each set will be what's known as a reading to learn question, which can either be prose summary or fill in a table. Each of the TOEFL reading question types is covered in detail in the methods lessons at e2testprep.com. These videos give you all the tips, tricks, and strategies for TOEFL reading on test day. Okay, here's what it looks like. On the right, you can see the passage. You can scroll up and down to read the whole passage. On the left, you'll see each question, and an arrow will indicate in the passage which paragraph the question relates to. Before you start on the questions, you should briefly skim the whole reading passage to get an idea of what the passage is about. Don't spend too long on this, though. So, are you ready to have a go yourself? Be sure to pause the video and take as much time as you need to answer. You can start now. Okay, that's it. How did you do? Let's take a look at the answers and find out. Question 1 says, according to paragraph 1, all of the following take place in the development of a flash of lightning except. Because of the word except, we know this is a negative factual information question. So you need to find out which options are supported by the passage to work out which one is not supported by the passage. The first option says, great tension between 2 oppositely charged regions. And this sentence says, the attractive tension becomes great between a region of negatively charged particles and a region of positively charged particles. So this option is supported by the passage and we can rule it out. The next option says, an increase in negatively charged particles over positively charged particles. I can't find anything in the passage that suggests that more negative than positive particles are present when lightning develops, so I think this must be the correct answer. But let's check the other options just to verify. The third option says, oppositely charged particles coming together. The passage says that lightning occurs when negatively and positively charged particles suddenly rush together. So this is supported by the passage and we can rule it out. The final option says, the release of electrical energy in the form of visible light. And the passage says that lightning is a flash of light produced by an electrical discharge. So again, this is supported and this can't be our answer. So our final answer is the second option. Question 2 says, according to paragraph 2, what causes ice crystals to become positively charged? So this is a factual information question. The first option says, collisions with ice pellets, and the passage says, the collision between the ice pellets and the ice crystals causes electrical charges to shift so that the ice pellets acquire a negative charge and the ice crystals become positively charged. So this is correct. Let's select this as our answer. Did you choose any of the other options? Some of them were a bit tempting, so it was tricky. Let me show you why those options were misleading. The second option says collisions with negatively charged ice crystals at the base of the cloud, But there's no information in the passage that ice crystals collide with negatively charged ice crystals. So this option is incorrect. The next one says, becoming concentrated in the central region of the cloud. And the passage says, the heavier, negatively charged ice pellets are left to concentrate in the center. This sounds like it matches, doesn't it? They both talk about being concentrated in the center. But be careful. We can't just pick an answer because we see some of the same words. In this case, the passage is saying the ice pellets concentrate in the center, and the question is asking about ice crystals. So they're not saying the same thing, and this option is incorrect. Remember, watch out for distractors in the reading exam. Sometimes an answer seems to be correct, but when you read carefully, you can spot if there are subtle differences that change the meaning. The final option says, forming at a temperature greater than -15 degrees Celsius. And the passage says, the cloud is warmer than -15 degrees Celsius, and at these temperatures, collisions between ice crystals and falling ice pellets produce positively charged ice pellets. Again, this seems to be saying the same thing, but can you spot the difference? That's right, it's again talking about producing positively charged ice pellets, not ice crystals, so it doesn't match, and that option is also incorrect. Question 3 says, according to paragraph 2, why are positively charged ice pellets produced in the lower part of the cloud? This is another factual information question. The first option is, collisions between ice crystals and ice pellets increase in number in the lower part of the cloud. There's no indication in the passage that the number of collisions increases in the lower part of the cloud, so this option is incorrect. The next option says, the lower part of the cloud is smaller than the region above it. We can see that the region in the center of the cloud is large and that there's a small region at the base of the cloud. So it's true that the lower part of the cloud is smaller than the region above it. So is this the correct answer? No, it's not. The difference in size is mentioned, but it's not given as a reason for why positively charged ice pellets are produced in the lower part of the cloud. The size of the region is not relevant to that, so this option is actually incorrect. The next option says, more ice pellets than ice crystals reach the lower part of the cloud. But there's nothing in the passage that compares the number of ice crystals and the number of ice pellets in the lower part of the cloud. So this option is also incorrect. And the final option says, temperatures in the lower part of the cloud are warmer than -15 degrees Celsius. We know this is true because the passage says in this region, the cloud is warmer than -15 degrees Celsius. But does that cause production of positively charged ice pellets? It says, at these temperatures, collisions between ice crystals and falling ice pellets produce positively charged ice pellets. So we know that the temperatures cause this. So this option is correct. Can you see how sometimes an answer is incorrect because the information is just not given in the passage? And sometimes it's incorrect because it's not saying exactly the same thing as the passage? This makes these questions quite tricky, doesn't it? If you'd like access to more TOEFL reading practice questions after this video, head to e2language.com and sign up for a free or premium test preparation course. Question 4 says, according to paragraph 2, the middle region of a cloud becomes negatively charged due to all of the following except, so this is another negative factual information question. The first option is a shift of electrical charges between ice pellets and ice crystals. The passage says, the collision between the ice pellets and the ice crystals causes electrical charges to shift so that the ice pellets acquire a negative charge and the ice crystals become positively charged. Then, updraft wind currents carry the light, positively charged ice crystals up to the top of the cloud. The heavier, negatively charged ice pellets are left to concentrate in the center. So this supports the first option, so we can rule that out. The next option says negatively charged ice pellets that remain in the middle. This is also supported where the passage says, the heavier, negatively charged ice pellets are left to concentrate in the center. So we can also eliminate that option. The next one says, a temperature of -15 degrees Celsius or less. And the passage says, the temperature at the center of the cloud is about -15 degrees Celsius or lower. So that one is also supported by the passage. And the final option says, the development of a positive charge at the base of the cloud. While it's true that the base of the cloud has a positive charge, this is not a reason for the middle of the cloud becoming negatively charged. So this is the answer. Question 5 says, it can be inferred from paragraph 2 that the part of the reason that the top of a storm cloud becomes positively charged is that. This is an inference question. It's asking what's implied by the passage rather than stated directly. The first option says, the top of the cloud is warmer than the middle of the cloud, but the passage talks about the cold upper regions of the cloud. So this contradicts the option and we can eliminate it. The next option says, the middle of the cloud is already occupied by positively charged particles. The passage says, the heavier negatively charged ice pellets are left to concentrate in the center. So the middle of the cloud is occupied by negatively charged particles, not positively charged particles. This option is also incorrect. The next one says, the negatively charged ice pellets are too heavy to be carried by the updrafts that move ice crystals. The passage says, updraft wind currents carry the light, positively charged ice crystals up to the top of the cloud. The heavier, negatively charged ice pellets are left to concentrate in the center. So this implies that the updraft doesn't take the negatively charged ice pellets because they're heavier, and that's why the top part of the cloud is positively charged. So this is the right answer. Let's look at the final option. It says, collisions between ice pellets in the top of the cloud produce mainly positively charged particles. The passage says, pellets of ice form in the cold upper regions of the cloud, but it doesn't say anything about collisions between ice pellets there. So we can also rule that one out. Okay, we're halfway through. How are you doing? Let me know in the comments if you got a few right. Question 6 says, the author remarks that lightning that strikes the ground is the most likely to be destructive, in order to explain why. This is a rhetorical purpose question. It's asking why the author includes this information. The first option says, this form of lightning has been investigated so much, and the passage says, lightning that strikes the ground is the most likely to be destructive, so even though it represents only 20% of all lightning, it has received a lot of scientific attention. The word so indicates that the cause of receiving a lot of attention is that it's so destructive, so this is the correct option. The next option says, this form of lightning is not as common as lightning within a cloud. While this information is true, it's not why the author says it's more destructive. The third option says, scientific understanding of this form of lightning is important. This is not the point that the author makes in the paragraph, so this is also incorrect. The final one says, the buildup of positive charge on the ground beneath a storm cloud can have serious consequences. This is also true based on the passage, but again, it's not the reason the author says it's more destructive. So for rhetorical purpose questions, you can see you have to be really careful. The statements made can match with the information in the passage, but the main thing you need to focus on is whether they match with the reason the information is provided by the author. So they can be a bit tricky, but remember, practice makes perfect. Question 7 says, the word initiated in the passage is closest in meaning to, so this clearly is a vocabulary question. The passage says, the formation of the channel is initiated when electrons surge from the cloud base toward the ground. So it's talking about when the formation of the channel begins, and the word that fits best with that is started, so that option is correct. Question 8 asks, according to paragraph 5, Which of the following is true of the stream of charged particles from the ground? The first option says, it prevents streams of electrons from the cloud from striking the ground. And the passage says that electrons from the cloud follow the channel to the ground. So this option is incorrect because they're not prevented from going to the ground. The next option says, it completes a channel that connects the storm cloud with the ground. The passage says a complete channel is formed when a stream of negatively charged particles from the cloud comes within 100 meters of the ground, when it is met by a stream of positively charged particles. So this option is correct. The third option says it produces a stream of electrons from the cloud. The passage says the electrons surge from the cloud base, so they're produced by the cloud, not the stream of charged particles. And the final option says it widens the path made by the initial stream of electrons from the cloud. The passage says the channel is only a few centimeters in diameter, but that is wide enough for electrons to follow the channel to the ground. So it says the passage is narrow, and it doesn't say anything about the particles widening it. So that option is also incorrect. Now for question 9, this is a slightly different looking question because you can see letters added to the passage. This is an insert text question. It says, look at the part of the passage displayed. The letters A, B, C, and D indicate where the following sentence could be added. The sentence says, the descending stream of electrons divides at the point where the new positive stream channel intersects the established path. And then you're asked, where would the sentence best fit? In the sentence, it refers to the new positive stream channel. Before choices A and B, no new positive stream channel has been mentioned, so these options can't be correct. This sentence mentions the positive stream, a stream of electrons following an established channel, is met by a positive stream making a new path, and that's followed by choice C, which fits well as it refers back to this channel. Choice D follows the mention of forked lightning, and the sentence talks about when the stream of electrons divides, so this may seem like a good fit. But the final sentence is describing the result of the stream dividing, so the point about the stream dividing needs to come first. So the trick with insert text questions is to look at certain references within the given sentence and then find what they're referring to in the passage so you can work out where the sentence best fits. If you want more practice with the insert text TOEFL reading task, sign up for a free TOEFL preparation course at e2testprep.com. And now we're on to the final question. Question 10 looks different again. It's a prose summary question. It says, an introductory sentence for a brief summary of the passage is provided below. Complete the summary by selecting the 3 answer choices that express the most important ideas in the passage. Some sentences do not belong in the summary because they express ideas that are not presented in the passage or are minor ideas in the passage. This question is worth 2 points. Drag your answer choices to the spaces where they belong. And the first sentence already given is, lightning takes place when a separation of positive and negative electrical particles that develop in a storm cloud suddenly collapses. The first sentence says, a storm cloud first develops a positively charged layer at the top, then a negatively charged middle layer, and finally, a positively charged layer at the bottom. This isn't supported by the passage because the layers all form at the same time, not separately like this suggests. So this choice is incorrect. The next sentence says, a separation of oppositely charged particles in clouds develops from collisions of falling ice pellets with ice crystals, from updrafts, and from temperature variations. This fits with what's said in paragraph 2. This information is essential to understanding how lightning is created, so it should be included in the summary. Let's move it up. The next one says, lightning from cloud to ground follows a channel that forms when a stream of electrons moving down meets a stream of positive particles coming up from the ground. This explains how the lightning can reach the ground. This is also an important focus of the passage, so this should be included too. Next we have field studies, laboratory simulations, and high-speed photography have all been used to investigate the way charge separations develop in clouds. Field studies and lab simulations are mentioned in paragraph 2, but there's no mention of high-speed photography anywhere. Also, these aren't a main focus of the passage. They're only minor details, so this option is incorrect. The next one says, lightning from a cloud to the ground is more likely to be destructive than is lightning that takes place within a cloud. This is supported by the passage, but is it a main idea? No, it's not, so this one is also incorrect. And the final one says, once a channel has been formed, it is usually used by several successive electrical discharges that illuminate the channel as flashes of light. This information is given in paragraph 6. It shows the result of the processes described in the passage. So this is a main detail and should be included. And there we have our complete summary. That concludes our TOEFL reading practice test. How did you do? If you didn't get them all right, remember to keep practicing so you'll be well prepared in time for test day. If you'd like more practice with TOEFL reading, head to e2language.com. Here you can find lots of practice materials, methods videos, as well as mock tests, assessments, and one-on-one tutorials. Good luck with your studies, and we'll see you next time.